The millionaire's son bit the maid, but what he did next shocked everyone. The cries echoed through the grand hall of the Alvarez estate. The sound bounced off the towering walls, rattling the old portraits that had hung in silence for years. "Ethan, let go, you're going to hurt her." A frail boy of 7 clung fiercely to the arm of Clara Morales, the young maid who had only started working at the villa less than 2 weeks ago. His teeth sank deep into her flesh, blood trickling down her wrist and staining her pale skin. In the chaos, hurried footsteps thundered across the marble floor. Rosa, the longtime cook, rushed over, hands flailing as she screamed, "Oh, Lord! Someone call Mr. Alvarez! Hurry! Call him now!" Near the doorway, Hector, the family chauffeur, tried to approach, but each time he drew close, Ethan growled, a guttural animal-like sound. His dark eyes glistened with fury, as though he were a cornered creature fighting for survival. "She's going to get hurt! Clara, let him go!" Rosa cried in panic. But Clara didn't move. She remained kneeling on the cold tiled floor, allowing the boy to cling to her arm. She didn't fight back, didn't scream. Instead, she gently placed her free hand on Ethan's back, her voice soft, almost a whisper. "It's all right. Breathe, Ethan. Just let me talk to you for a moment." Rosa sobbed, shaking her head. "Talk to him? He doesn't even speak." Clara didn't answer. She locked her gaze onto Ethan's, those beautiful eyes clouded with a rage no child should ever carry. "I know. You're hurting. Right here," she murmured, pressing a hand to her chest. "The kind of pain no one can see. No one seems to understand. Just like my arm hurts now, but I'm not angry at you." Ethan hesitated, his jaw still clamped down, but his eyes flickered, uncertain. He blinked as if trying to make sense of her words. "The pain inside you," Clara went on, voice trembling yet steady. "It feels just like the pain in my arm. But look, I'm still here. I'm not leaving you." Slowly, Ethan released her arm. The room froze in silence. Everyone held their breath. Then suddenly, the boy threw himself into Clara's arms. He clung to her tightly, sobbing, not the hollow, hysterical wails they were used to, but the raw, broken sobs of a child who had finally found someone who understood. Clara cradled him close, tears spilling down her own cheeks. "There, my love. It's over now. I'm here with you." Rosa gaped, speechless. Hector rubbed at his eyes, overwhelmed. My God, 2 years. It's been 2 years since he touched anyone like that. On the staircase above, Victor Alvarez, master of the estate, stood frozen. His heart pounded violently, as though it might burst from his chest. Ever since his wife, Isabella, had died in that tragic accident, Ethan had withdrawn into silence. He had not smiled, not spoken, not shown a trace of affection. 6 therapists had come and gone, all defeated, some even scarred from his bites and scratches. And yet, in a matter of minutes, a humble maid, dressed in a faded uniform and worn-out sneakers, had done what experts could not. Victor gripped the banister tightly, hardly believing his eyes. His chest trembled with 2 opposing emotions, hope and fear. Impossible. It could never be like that. The firm voice made Victor turn around. Marissa Vega, 32 years old, the child therapist he had hired 6 months ago, stood in the doorway of the living room. Her face showed surprise, but there was something unsettling in her eyes. "Strange," she muttered, staring at Clara stroking Ethan's hair. "Very strange." Victor stepped closer. "Why strange?" "Because he's too calm. That's what worries me." Marissa lowered her voice. "A child with Ethan's level of autism cannot suddenly change behavior like this. Something isn't right." She leaned closer, whispering so Clara wouldn't hear. "Victor, this isn't normal. I studied autism for 6 years and worked with special needs children for a long time. Kids like Ethan don't react this way overnight." "But look at him," Victor pointed to his son, resting peacefully in Clara's arms. He's too calm. Too much. I'm worried." Marissa hesitated, as if reluctant to voice her suspicion. "Do you know what might have happened?" "What?" "She could have deliberately provoked him into a crisis." Victor frowned. "Deliberately? What do you mean?" "It's a trick some people use. Push the child into a breakdown so they can appear as the savior." Marissa sighed, pretending to hesitate. "I saw everything from the start. Ethan was sitting quietly in the corner, playing with his toy car, and she approached in a strange way, as if forced, desperate to catch his attention at any cost. Inside the room, Clara had stood up and was showing Ethan some colored cards. She pulled from her bag a set of handmade flashcards, drawn with markers, a red heart, a happy face, a sad face, a house, a car. "Look, Ethan, whenever you want to tell me something, you can use these cards. If you're happy, raise this one. If you're sad, this one." Ethan picked up the red heart card, holding it up with eyes that sparkled for the first time in so long. "Beautiful. Do you mean you like me?" He nodded, and then another miracle happened. He smiled, small, hesitant, but real. Rosa made the sign of the cross. "Holy Mother." Hector wiped his eyes. He smiled, truly smiled. We've waited 2 years for this. But inside Marissa, jealousy boiled. 6 months clinging to Ethan, trying to win his trust, and, along the way, Victor's admiration. 6 months studying every reaction, every habit, every need. Yet this maid achieved it all in just 1 day. "Look, Victor," Marissa said in a voice filled with false concern. "I have experience. 6 years in university, specializing in autism, working with special needs children since graduation. Never, not once, have I seen such a fast reaction." Victor looked at his son, his heart torn. Seeing Ethan happy was all he had wanted. Since Isabella's death, the boy had shut himself off completely. No words, no play, no affection, as if he had built an invisible wall around himself. But Marissa was a professional. Her credentials and references were solid. If she was worried, what was he supposed to do? "We should just observe carefully," Marissa suggested, already calculating her plan. "If this is real progress, it will continue. If it's manipulation, the mask will fall soon." While Victor was listening, Marissa took advantage of the moment Clara stood up to get Ethan a glass of water. The colored cards lay on the table. Swiftly and discreetly, Marissa slipped them into her handbag. "We just need patience," she said calmly. "The truth will come out." Not 10 minutes later, her scheme worked. After finishing his water, Ethan looked for the cards everywhere, on the table, under the rug, behind the cushions. Where? He began making guttural sounds in his throat, the sign of mounting stress. "Ethan, calm down. I'm sure the cards are somewhere." Clara searched too, but he grew increasingly agitated. The growls grew louder, more frantic. He began rocking back and forth, his gaze distant. "No, Ethan, please, calm down. Clara will find the cards," she tried to soothe him. But it was too late. Ethan banged his head against the wall, collapsed to the floor, screaming, heart-wrenching cries that pierced the air. Marissa appeared, her face twisted into fake pity, her eyes saying, "See?" "You see," she pointed at Clara. "She's thrown him into complete chaos. Now he's worse than before." The next morning, the Alvarez mansion was buzzing with rumors. Marissa Vega went around whispering to everyone. "Listen, I don't want to speak ill of anyone," she murmured to Rosa in the kitchen, "but did you notice the way she looks at Mr. Alvarez?" Rosa, middle-aged, who had worked in the house for 5 years, frowned. "What do you mean?" "Oh, come on." Marissa pretended to hesitate, but went on. "She's young, pretty, graceful, and he's a wealthy widower, living alone for 2 years. Do you really think she came here just to work?" Rosa fell silent. It was true that Clara Morales was different from the other maids. She was younger, more educated, and undeniably beautiful. And the way she looked at the master, You think she has other intentions? Rosa asked cautiously. I didn't say anything. Marissa lifted her hands in fake innocence. But we should be careful. Mr. Alvarez has suffered enough because of Isabella. Don't let some gold digger fool him. In the laundry room, Marissa repeated the same story to Letitia and Veronica. I'm not saying she's a gold digger, she whispered. But isn't it odd? She's new here and already wants to take care of the boy. He never let anyone near him, yet suddenly clings to her. Letitia, older and experienced, nodded. It is a bit suspicious. Marissa lowered her voice. And have you noticed how she takes care of herself? Hair always neat, lipstick, perfume. For a cleaning maid, it's excessive. You're right, Veronica agreed. And she often finds excuses to walk past the master's office. The staff murmured among themselves. Seeds of doubt had been planted and were beginning to grow. Clara worked as usual, cleaning carefully, playing with Ethan Alvarez whenever she could. She didn't understand why so many strange glances were cast her way. Good morning, Rosa, she greeted as she went into the kitchen for cleaning supplies. Morning, Rosa replied, but her tone was cold and distant. Is something wrong? You seem upset. No, just working. Clara didn't press further, but her chest felt heavy. Something had changed. On Thursday afternoon, Victor called Clara into his office. Sit down. I need to talk to you. Her heart pounded. Did I do something wrong, sir? Victor opened a drawer and pulled out a delicate gold bracelet inlaid with tiny diamonds, glittering under the light. Do you recognize this? Clara's eyes widened. I've never seen it in my life, sir. Strange. Marissa said she found it in your uniform pocket during lunch today. I swear before God I've never seen this bracelet. Then how did it get into your pocket? Victor studied her face. She looked genuinely surprised, confused. Her wide eyes showed shock, not guilt. But the truth was undeniable. The bracelet had been found in her pocket, a valuable heirloom that had belonged to his late wife. Look, Clara, I appreciate your work, and Ethan trusts you in a way he's never trusted anyone. But I cannot keep someone dishonest in this house. I am not dishonest, she cried, her eyes brimming. I've worked since I was 14, in many homes, for many families, and never, not once, have I taken anything that wasn't mine. Then why was it in your pocket? I don't know. Sell it? Give it away? Keep it as a souvenir? But I didn't even know this bracelet existed. How could I plan to steal something I didn't know about? Her argument made sense, and Victor felt torn. On one side, Clara seemed sincere. On the other, the evidence was right there. I need time to decide whether you can continue working here, he said coldly. Clara left, her legs trembling, her heart breaking. In the hallway, she ran into Marissa carrying Ethan's folded clothes. Oh, how unfortunate, Marissa said with false pity. But I don't want you to think I'm a tattletale. I just thought it was my responsibility to return what I found. Clara stared straight into her eyes. There was something off, an icy satisfaction hidden beneath her mask. You put that bracelet in my pocket, Clara said firmly. Marissa gave a short, cold laugh. Oh, Clara, what a heavy accusation. Do you have proof? Clara had none, only her certainty of innocence and the intuition that Marissa was behind it all. Why are you doing this? I've never wronged you. Doing what, Clara? I haven't done a thing. I think you're just stressed, exhausted. Maybe you should go home and rest. A week of torment passed. Victor still hadn't decided about Clara, but she continued working, now under Marissa's increasingly poisonous gaze. At least Ethan was still happy around her. Every day he looked for Clara throughout the house, and she always found time to play with him, tell stories, or gently stroke his hair while he drew. You like Clara, don't you, Ethan? Marissa asked every time she saw them. But you know she won't be here forever, right? She'll leave, just like your mother did." Ethan grew visibly anxious, rocking back and forth, growling under his breath. Marissa repeated it daily, a slow psychological torture. "Everyone you love leaves. Your mother left? Clara will too." On Saturday morning, Marissa decided to strike her final blow. She waited until Clara went to the market with Hector, then slipped into the second-floor tower room, Victor's late wife's sanctuary. He had kept it untouched, exactly as Isabella left it. No one was allowed inside, not even to clean. Only Victor visited, once a week, to talk to her memory. Marissa keyed in the electronic safe code she had once secretly observed, Ethan's date of birth. Inside, among documents and jewelry, was a diamond necklace, Victor's wedding gift to Isabella, custom designed, priceless, both in money and sentiment. Marissa carefully took it, went down to the maid's quarters, opened Clara's locker, and hid it deep inside her old leather bag. Then she returned to the living room and waited. Clara came back from the market, arms full of groceries, unaware of the trap. Marissa was already sitting with Victor, discussing Ethan's progress. "Mr. Alvarez," Marissa said with trembling voice, "I need to talk about something serious. I don't want to believe it, but—" "What is it, Marissa?" "Last night around 10, I saw Clara leaving your wife's room." Victor froze, his expression darkening. "I never asked anyone to clean that room. No one is allowed in." "I know, that's why I was so worried. This morning, while you were out playing tennis, I checked to make sure everything was still there." At that moment, Clara entered with her bags, unaware of the storm. "Clara!" Victor's voice was ice. "Did you go into my wife's room?" "Which room, sir? I don't even know exactly where it is." "The tower room on the second floor," Marissa said sweetly. "You went there last night around 10. "I didn't go anywhere. At 10 I was at home caring for my mother. She had a high fever." Then how do you explain this?" Marissa opened her hand, revealing the diamond necklace sparkling like silent accusation. Clara went pale. "My God, where did you find that?" Victor's voice broke. "In your locker, hidden deep inside your old leather bag." "Sir, I swear on my mother's soul, on my father's memory, I have never seen this necklace." "You thought no one would find out?" For the first time since she had met him, Clara saw pure fury in Victor's eyes. "That necklace belonged to my wife, my wedding gift to her on the happiest day of my life." "I didn't take it. I didn't even know it existed." But Victor didn't want to listen. The pain of betrayal was overwhelming. He had trusted her, let her close to his son, opened both his home and his heart, and now she had violated the most sacred place, the shrine of memory. "Get out, now!" His voice cracked like a whip against the stone. "If I find you've touched anything else, I will call the police, and I will press charges." Clara's eyes blurred with tears. With trembling hands, she unbuttoned her uniform right there in the living room and handed it back. "Mr. Alvarez, for the love you have for Ethan, please let me explain." "There is nothing to explain. Get out of my house." The staff gathered at the doorway, gossiping over the commotion. Rosa shook her head in pity. Hector looked ashamed. The other maids murmured. "I knew she wasn't right," Letitia said. "Poor Ethan, he adored her," Veronica whispered. "She was too pretty for a maid anyway," another muttered. Clara left the Alvarez mansion with nothing but the clothes on her back and the old leather bag that now held evidence planted against her. Neighbors peeked out, drawn by the shouting. As Clara stepped out of the house, her final glance lifted to the second floor. Behind the window, Ethan slammed his hands against the glass, tears streaming down his face. He couldn't understand why the only person who had ever reached him was being taken away. His scream tore through the quiet morning air. "Ah!" And so, the diamond necklace did not only strip Clara of her dignity, it shattered the fragile heart of a child who had already suffered too much loss. After the day Clara left the villa, the Alvarez household fell under a heavy shadow. Ethan refused to eat. He sat motionless in the corner, eyes vacant, staring at the carpet, no matter how Rosa coaxed or Hector pleaded. Food sat untouched until it grew cold. No one could convince him to take a bite. At night, Ethan screamed, banging his head against the wall until Victor had to hold him tightly to stop him from hurting himself. Victor's eyes sank deep from sleeplessness, his heart drowning in a guilt he couldn't yet name. On the third day, Victor entered Ethan's room and froze. Sheets of paper were scattered across the floor. Dozens of frantic drawings, all the same, a woman with long hair cradling a small boy, and beside them a dark figure hiding colorful cards behind its back. Victor picked up one of the drawings, his heart hammering. "Ethan, who is this?" he asked, pointing at the shadow. The boy blinked, then grabbed a fresh sheet. This time the lines were clearer. A woman with shoulder-length hair, concealing the cards. Victor's voice cracked. "Ethan, is that Marissa?" Ethan nodded hard, his lips trembling with a growl of disgust. Marissa hid Clara's cards? He nodded again, then, in a burst of anger, took a red pen and crossed out Marissa's picture. Furiously, as if he wanted to erase her not only from the paper, but from his life. Victor's face burned, his chest tightening. He rushed to the garage and tore through Marissa's car. Minutes later, his hands shook as he pulled from beneath the driver's seat a bundle of crumpled, torn cards, the very set Clara had made for Ethan. The truth struck like a blade. Every suspicion, every poisonous doubt Marissa had planted, now assembled into a damning picture. She had sabotaged Ethan. She had stolen the only bridge that let him reach out. Victor returned to the villa, his heart pounding. Silently, he installed hidden cameras in the living room, the playroom, even the study. He needed proof, not only to clear Clara's name, but to protect Ethan. On the very first day, the cameras captured something that froze his blood. In the playroom, Marissa sat beside Ethan. As he drew, she suddenly squeezed his arm hard, whispering venom. "You'll never get better. If you were normal, your father would be happy." Ethan whimpered, trying to pull away, but Marissa pinched harder, this time on his thigh. "Crying again? Clara was never good for you. She left you, don't you see?" Ethan tried to get up and run, but she yanked him down. "Clara isn't good for you. She lies. She steals. Because of her, your father doesn't trust anyone anymore. Not even me, the one who only wants the best for both of you." Her voice dripped with venom. Ethan began rocking back and forth, his sounds of despair growing louder. Victor stopped the recording. It was enough to know the kind of person he had entrusted his son to. His hands trembled as he clutched the crumpled flashcards. Regaining his composure, he entered his office and opened the file, the playroom footage. On screen, Marissa was shown grabbing, belittling, comparing, and insulting over and over. In one clip, she whispered, "Something has changed, but I will find out what it is." Victor shut off the monitor. He rushed upstairs to Ethan's room. "Son, come here." The boy looked at him with sad eyes. "Did she hurt you?" Victor pointed to the bruise on his arm. Ethan nodded, curling up in fear. "She will never hurt you again. I promise." The very next morning, Victor drove straight to the police station, carrying all the evidence. The hidden camera footage, the crumpled picture cards found in the car, and Ethan's own drawings, all compiled into a thick folder. Captain Ramirez, the officer in charge, listened silently. When the video reached the moment Marissa pinched Ethan's arm, his face hardened. "That's enough. With this evidence, we can press charges immediately." That afternoon, police swarmed the Alvarez estate. Marissa straightened, still wearing the mask of control, until the cuffs snapped cold around her wrists, the metal bite echoing through the hall as the staff stared in stunned silence. You're making a mistake. I'm a professional. Everything I did was for the boy's good," she screamed. But no one believed her anymore. Right after Marissa was arrested, Victor immediately went to look for Clara. "Rosa, stay with Ethan. I have to go out." "You're going to find Clara?" Rosa had noticed that he had been different these past few days. "I'll try." "It's time, sir. We know now she never did anything wrong." "How do you know?" "We're not fools. Marissa was always asking strange questions about Clara, always planting doubts." "And you believed her?" Rosa lowered her head, ashamed. "At first, yes, but then we thought about it again. Clara has always been a good girl, hardworking, honest. We were wrong." Those words gave Victor new strength. Victor drove to the poor neighborhood on the outskirts, the place where Clara and her mother lived. Crumbling houses lined the narrow street, children's laughter echoing in the alleys. He asked a woman who was watering her plants, "Do you know Clara Morales?" "Yes, she lives in the blue house, but poor girl, she's been so sad." "Why?" "Saturday night she came home crying, saying she'd been accused of theft. We all know she's honest." Victor Alvarez walked toward the blue house, guilt weighing heavy on him, and knocked on the door. A frail woman of about 60 opened it. "Good afternoon. Are you Clara's mother?" "Yes, and you are?" "I'm Victor Alvarez." "Ah," Anne folded her arms. "So you're the man who made my daughter cry." "Anne, I came to apologize. I've discovered she's innocent." "Innocent?" "My daughter has always been innocent. She's worked since she was a child and has never taken a single coin that wasn't hers." A few curious neighbors gathered. "Please, let me speak with Clara." "She doesn't want to see you. She's inside, crying non-stop." Victor dropped to his knees on the sidewalk in front of everyone. "Anne, I was wrong, but now I have proof of who planted the jewelry." The whole street froze. People leaned closer. "Clara," he called out loudly, "please hear me. I have a way to prove your innocence." The door slowly opened. Clara stepped out, her eyes swollen from tears. "Mr. Alvarez?" "Clara, forgive me." Still kneeling, he held out his phone. "I discovered who did this." He showed her the video of Marissa mistreating Ethan. Clara gasped, covering her mouth. "My God, she hurt Ethan." "Yes, and much more." The neighbors exchanged stunned looks. "I knew she was a good person," someone said. "The rich always think they can judge the poor," another muttered. Clara helped Victor to his feet. "Sir, even if you prove my innocence, how can I return? People will talk." At that moment, the back door burst open. Ethan ran in, followed by Rosa. The boy had begged the cook to take him to find Clara. And the instant he saw her, Ethan shouted from the depths of his heart, the very first word he had spoken after years of silence. "Clara!" The entire street fell silent. Clara stood frozen, then broke down in tears, wrapping the boy tightly in her arms. Anne clapped her hands. "Let's talk inside. No need for the whole neighborhood to hear our family matters." In the small living room, Victor Alvarez and Clara Morales sat on worn-out chairs. Anne served coffee. "Clara, I know I insulted you. I didn't trust you." "Not just that." Clara twisted her hands nervously. "What if I return? You are the master. I'm just a maid." But, I love Ethan. I truly do," she blushed. "And I love you too, in the way a woman loves a man. But we come from different worlds. You're wealthy, educated. I only finished high school." Anne sipped her coffee. "May I say something, daughter?" "Yes, Mama." "I recognized that boy from the very first day you told me about him, because I once had a brother like Ethan, your Uncle Antonio. He never spoke, never liked to be touched, lived in his own world. Back then, it didn't have a name, but now I know he was special, and the only one who could comfort him was me. I made him eat, sleep, stop crying. You were too little when he passed away to remember. The day you told me about the boy who accepted only you, I thought, this is God's design. She looked at Victor. When a special child chooses someone, it's sacred. It's never by chance. Victor shivered. And more than that, Anne continued, this boy and this man need you, and you need them. But what if it doesn't work out, Clara whispered. Then you'll spend your whole life thinking, what if? This man knelt down outside our house to beg forgiveness before everyone. That's no ordinary thing. Victor turned to Clara. Come back to me, not as an employee, but as part of the family. Part of the family? Ethan already sees you as his mother, and I. Victor swallowed hard. I see you as the one who brought light back into this home. Clara looked at her mother. Anne nodded. All right, I'll return, but let's be clear from the start. I'm not a maid anymore, and I'm not the lady of the house either. You're Ethan's second mother, Anne said softly, and perhaps, in time, even more than that. At that moment, Ethan spoke, clinging tightly to Clara. Stay with me. Clara burst into tears. My love, I will stay with you forever. Ethan looked at his father. Dad, bring Clara home. Yes, son, and she will never leave again. Victor knelt beside them both. Clara, will you accept to be the girlfriend of a man who has a special child and who has already fallen in love with you? The question was clumsy but sincere. Clara blushed. Ethan urged impatiently. Say yes. I accept, she whispered. Great, Ethan cheered. Now we're a family. After months of storms, the Alvarez villa finally found peace again. But the air inside was different now. It was no longer heavy and cold, but filled with laughter and warmth. Ethan grew stronger every day. At first, he spoke only a few short words, but with Clara's patient guidance, his vocabulary blossomed. One afternoon, he suddenly ran to Victor, wrapped his arms around him, and said, I love you, Dad. Victor froze, his eyes blurring with tears. After years of sorrow, those 3 words were enough to mend his broken heart. Clara no longer wore the faded maid's uniform. She was now the woman of the house, the one Ethan called Mom, the one Victor quietly leaned on after long, weary days. Anne often visited, bringing simple home-cooked meals, always reminding her daughter, happiness isn't about wealth, it's about being loved and loving in return. One afternoon, as the 3 of them sat in the garden, Ethan brought out a new drawing. He had sketched his family, father, mother, and himself, holding hands beneath a bright sun. At the bottom, in shaky childlike letters, he had written, We are the happiest family. One evening, as the sunset bathed the garden, Victor suddenly took Clara's hand. His eyes were solemn, yet filled with tenderness. Clara, you came into my life like a miracle. You didn't just heal Ethan, you healed me too. I don't want you to be just part of this family. I want you to be my partner for life. From his pocket, he pulled a simple ring, nothing extravagant, just a small gleaming stone. Clara, will you marry me? Tears spilled down Clara's cheeks as her trembling hands covered her mouth. Ethan stood beside them, eyes wide, waiting. At last, she nodded and whispered, Yes, I will. Ethan clapped his hands, cheering. There's going to be a wedding. I'll carry the ring for Mom. The ceremony was held in the villa's garden. No luxury, no fanfare, just a few loved ones, Rosa, Hector, Anne, and some kind neighbors. Clara wore a simple white dress, Victor an old suit. Ethan was the ring-bearer, so serious that everyone laughed. When Victor slid the ring onto Clara's finger, applause erupted. Ethan shouted proudly, Now we're a real family! Months later, Clara became pregnant. The news filled the house with joy. Ethan was the most excited, hugging his mother's belly every day and whispering, "Baby, it's your big brother. Don't worry, I'll protect you." When the baby was born, a beautiful little girl, Ethan was the first to reach for her. He gently cradled her tiny hand in his palm, his eyes shining. "You're God's gift. You'll never be alone, because I'll always be here." From that day, Ethan changed profoundly. He was calmer, more caring, eager to share. He spent hours by the cradle, humming clumsy tunes to lull his sister to sleep. Sometimes Victor would watch quietly, his eyes blurring with joy. One sunny afternoon, the whole family sat on the porch. Victor holding Clara, Clara cradling the baby, and Ethan pressed close, holding his sister's hand. Suddenly the boy looked up, his smile radiant. Now we're the happiest family in the whole world. Victor and Clara exchanged a look, gratitude, relief, something like awe. After all the pain and loss, life had led them here, a new beginning, mended and overflowing with love.